And we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome from rage to renewal. Today, we have our host today will be Rachel Rusiger, and Maisha and myself will be interviewed by her, and we're going to be talking about Black women, our relationship with each other, and talk a little bit about healing and what our rage looks like and how we can alchemize all this to have better relationships with each other. And so let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Ooh, I hear a background. Anyway, um, can you mute Tressa? Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. We're here today to really um, be reflective of the conversation about relationships between Black women. And for those that are listening on other platforms, please put in the chat and we will, if we have the time, acknowledge your comments, questions, or concerns. Um, First, I would like to thank Tressa and Debbie for allowing me to be a part of this conversation because it's very close to my heart. And I've had different situations that have happened along with, I feel like, a lot of other people who are listening in. So we want to start, but we also ask that those that are listening, please hold space for us and hold space for yourself because we also want this to be a continual conversation outside of this, even with your comments and concerns, also in your small circles or your day to day conversations, so that the healing can continue. So I don't know if Tressa or Debbie would like to start with how we got here and also how, as a collective, they feel that we can move forward in this healing to continue. I'm sorry.
Tressa,
I'm
you're
passing
muted,
the
I
mic to
think.
Trissa.
Okay, she's frozen.
Oh,
So
is
Debbie,
she?
you
Oh
might
my gosh.
she's frozen. You might
I was,
you're gonna have to kick it
I
out,
was
girl,
Yeah, I
for
was
supposed
real.
trying to
to.
unmute it. Oh, there she is.
Okay, because I
I
was like,
can't unmute her.
she invited me,
Her
so I wanted
unmute
her to
is
talk
not
to why
working.
she. Yeah, I wanted her to talk to why she thought it was a good idea to do this. So, Tressa. Okay, let's see. I'm sorry, my computer got it started doing weird stuff. Um, I felt like it was a first of all, Maisha and I have known each other for a couple years, and we were really, really close friends. I actually was one of her clients at one time. So, and she had supported Centrally Empowered Woman, the retreat. She was for the 3 years that we had done it. And at our last retreat, there was some things that happened. Um, and each one of us had a different take on it. But one thing that we both agreed on was one that we loved each other enough to talk about it, to try to work through it. And today we just kind of want to talk about what that not necessarily what happened, but what having a relationship with sisterhood means, and when you feel like you should give up or when you should hold on, or how things like these happen can because some of the women honestly, um I don't want to necessarily say got hurt, but I want to say was hurt by the experience, if that's the best way to say it. Okay. Okay, so do you want to introduce yourself though and tell the people who they are? And no, we haven't known each other for a couple of years. I think we've known each other for almost damn near a decade. Because Bianca's over here like a couple of years, like two or three. No, you're muted, Tressa, but can you introduce yourself and let the people know who you Okay, are and yeah. what So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry. Thank you. Because this right here, I just told Tasha before I got on. I was like, Tasha's my VA, and I'm Tressa, with Radical Transformation with T, the parent company of Centrally Empowered Woman and Transformative Conversations and Solutions. And I am I usually host this forum conversation with the sisters, and I thought they would be amazing for Maisha and I to get together. And I'm sorry to introduce myself. I told her out of all the ones that I do, I'm never really this nervous, but today I am not gonna lie. I am feeling some nervousness. So yes, that's who I am, and that's why I thought that it would be a good thing for us to get together, because one of the things I feel like in my conversation with Maisha, and she's gonna get a chance to talk too, is I felt like when you care about somebody in sisterhood enough and it matters, and she's right. But I was thinking when I said 3 years, I guess I was thinking more or less about the retreat part. But she's right. We've known each other about 10 years, and we decided in our own way, I think we both decided this relationship was not something we just wanted to throw away without trying to work it out. So Maisha, you want to say why you felt good, why you said yes?
Yes, because I love you and I support everything you do still to this day. For those who don't know
I
me,
love you too.
I'm Maisha, also known online as Devi Maisha. I'm the owner of Central Energy Alchemy. Tressa's gonna have to mute because she's giving us extra. It's just her computer likes to give us extra, is what it is. It's got a lot of energy. I'm the owner of Central Energy Alchemy, where I teach Black women about the sacredness and holiness of their sexuality and a whole bunch of other things. And yes, Tressa and I have known each other for years. Yes, at one time she was my client, but she has also been and a student, but she has also been a teacher of mine. I have been a part of things that she has done, and was part of the Centrally Empowered Woman workshop retreat for the past 3 years. This year's virtual, so hopefully you signed up. And yeah, so we don't need to do details, but basically the last retreat, and I will only ever speak for myself. The last retreat definitely took me. I don't know what was going on, but I did not bring all of my best self to that retreat. Probably because I was dealing with some things. I'm not going to blame my mother's passing, although that had happened a month before. I'm not going to blame the planets and the moons or anything like that. But I'm going to say a lot of stuff converged. And it's not, for me personally, it was not my best behavior. And Tressa and I share clients, we share friends, we share community. And there were people who were kind of caught in the crossfire of it. There were people who were in her community, there were people who were in my community. And there's this idea that Black women don't get along, that we are against each other, that we fight each other. And I could not imagine carrying on whatever. And then you know what happens, like one person says something, someone else says something, and the next thing you know, what started out as this tiny snowball turns into like this big thing that's happening. It turns into something that it was never meant to be. And so I've made my peace with all of the moving pieces, including Tressa. And she and I talked afterwards, and I apologized for my behavior, for things I'd said. I don't even remember all of what I said now, but I apologized for my part. And really, and I told her the same thing. I love her. I support everything she does. I think she is amazing. And when she invited me to do this, I forget what I think I sent her a text about the retreat, and it was virtual. It was like, hey, well, good luck with it or something. And she said, hey, we should do a talk. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because I think people think that if Black women have some type of rift, that it's just irreparable. And sometimes it's not, depending on what happened. But I love Tressa like a sister. And I was not gonna allow things that other people thought I said or thought she said or anything like that to stop. I mean, I have her daughters have been in stuff I've done. Like, I felt like that was family. And so when she said, let's do this, I said, yes, not so much for she and I, because we're good. But I think for, as a collective, for those who were in and around to be like, oh, okay, no, they're really good, right? Because they haven't really seen us together in a year. But also for Black women to know that you can go through something, you can be angry and frustrated and hurt, and you can decide if you want to repair the relationship and repair what happened and be accountable for it and move forward. So that's why I said yes. I told Trust, I always say yes to everything Trust does. I haven't said no yet.
Girl, I'm off here. I'm trying to keep from crying. I am really a softie, and I love you back. Um, this, but it grew me. It grew me though. It did. It grew me. Because there was things that I felt like. I'm sorry. There's things that you don't beat yourself up, but there's awareness that I'm aware of that. Um, because when you hold space for women, you got to protect them. And so some of my takeaway was areas that like you wherever that I saw that I needed to grow in. And so um this is just a great opportunity, as you said, that women should be able or can if they choose to. Sometimes you just have to walk away. I'm sure there's a few that I will just that there just will not ever be, there won't be that connection. But um it's the wisdom behind that. But other than that, there's a way that we get to make the decision. 10 years was a lot of years to throw away because of you holding on to something and you like, okay, so now I get to work through mine. And the great thing about it is you work through yours, I work through mine. By the time we came together, we both were like in the same place. Um
And yeah,
so Ray,
I
go
want to
ahead.
say something real quick. It grew me too because I don't do drama. And so this was my first experience with like heightened drama and with folks who like with folks who are ready to throw down because of love, right? But I knew that I got that, right? It was love, but it was still my first experience with it. It was my first experience um with anything close to being, and I wasn't really dragged on the internet, but it was as close as I ever want to come. I'm sure the future holds more for me if I keep talking my shit, but
Every way in between. And I had to be mature enough to say fuck it, and I just blocked it and just was like, you know what? Because one of my mentors said, if you don't get up from this, you won't get up from the next thing. You have to take your rightful place and stand up. Otherwise, you will never come through this. But my ass was definitely dragged, and my daughter's being there. We talked about it afterwards, and we're all good except for one of them. It took a while for her to even talk to me. And now we're working through all of this. Um, but when I chose to do this journey, um, I still have my own shit I'm working through as I'm working with everybody else. Um, so sometimes they get to see their mom being like pulled apart, which bothers them. Um, but this is the journey I chose, not necessarily to get torn apart, but everybody is not going to always see it the certain way, like me or whatever. And then there was other ladies that I felt at some point that I didn't keep them as safe as I could have, because it was nothing like the first two, where it was so family oriented. We had so much fun. We had a lot more women. And I also learned that quality over quantity It doesn't have to, and that's not to say that everybody wasn't welcome, but sometimes the desperation in having more can hinder the quality um that can be exercised there. And I think LaDonna said,
Okay,
LaDonna, we did announce it, so I'm not sure which women
I'm
are
here.
here. Well, oh, Bianca's here. Yes,
Yes.
Bianca was there from last time, but she was asking, did we notify a lot of the women? So I know that you're here. I'm not sure if anybody else is watching it, but yes.
But you have put out and given everybody the opportunity if they were able to see, and it's not really to rehash
Right.
those things, but to show the positivity and the healing that was able to start here. And if anybody knows those participants, they can reach out and let them know that there is something they can go back and view and see that there is a healing component and they can actively choose to be a part of it.
And can I piggyback on what you just said? I love that you use the word actively, because it is action. That is love in all of this. That there is action. And I don't know why my camera doing that. I will try to stop moving. Um, I attended all three retreats. I've known Tressa since 2019. I'm pretty sure I met Debbie in 2019 because I was in Tressa's circle. So, definitely there's been classes I've taken with Tressa, classes with Debbie. All three retreats, and anything Tressa does, yes, I'm there. That's my sister. So it's to to be a participant. Like I'm her sister. I got her back. But I think for me, it taught me so much as well. It helped me to grow in how I show up in relationships with women, because I am quick to say, fuck everybody and I'm out. Like, I'm like, okay, trust I'm gonna hold on to. That's my sister. But everybody else, I don't know about y'all, because I know, and I really trust her. Like, we've had conversations outside of just me being in her circle, or being in a class with her. So it felt like that's my big sister. and but I had to really sit with myself and not be dismissive, because I truly didn't know of everything that happened. I think that I was so focused on my bubble and my my rest, because the months preceding the retreat, I am always like, crazy busy with my grandchildren, my nephew, and then fiscal year end with work. So by the time I get to the retreat, I'm like a big old blob of just like really tiredness. I am tired. And they always catch me sleeping, y'all. So for me, it was an opportunity for growth. And it's also, I am so excited about tonight. I'm glad I'm able to be here, because I thought I had enough. My other class was canceled for tonight, but it's just really good to see the two of them come back together and to work through whatever they had to work through. Like, I don't need to know all the ins and outs. I heard a little bit of this and a little bit of that afterwards, so I don't even know everything that happened. I just know from this, somebody said this, a lot of that stuff. And the truth gets so diluted and lost in out of that, and then it was heartbreaking as a participant, and especially as someone who had been at the first two retreats, to see relationships just shattered. But sometimes, like you said, sometimes you're able to come back and mend those relationships, have the tough conversations, as women. And sometimes it truly is, okay, it was time for this right here to be done. And that's okay too. So it's a this and it's a that. So it's both. So I think that's what I took away, and what I learned from it is that, sometimes we want certain relationships to be forever and to stay the same, but sometimes things shift, and it may not shift in a way that you can continue, or sometimes it shift where you got to you got to dig in deep and figure out what the fuck happened and how do we fix it, and let's go. So like I said, I'm excited for this conversation, and just good, it's good to have. And I hope some of the other women do listen either now or later.
I just want to say real quick, and I do want to let Rachel jump in and do her
Mhm.
moderator duties. That something that you said, Bianca, is this is Trusses, you got the echo going.
Do
Um,
I?
yes, ma'am. Something that you said, Bianca, I think that is true because, well, I know it's true. Um, but I don't want anyone to think that. Well, I just want to say it's not that Trust and I were the only people involved in this. However, to the point of wanting to repair and have sisterhood, there were women who I had relationships with that I reached out to privately, Tressa being one of them, because it was that important and the relationships were that important for me, that healing happened. And then there were others, I don't can't speak, that where it was clear that the relationship had run its course. um but we're here tonight because Tressa and I, we made our amends a while ago, long time ago, not too long after, actually, maybe a month after, not even. We made our amends a long time ago, and we've just been allowing each other to grow and do what we need to do in our own spaces. But yeah, Tressa and I've been good since last year, November, just so y'all know. But Rachel,
Yeah, this is true. And
yeah.
one of the things that I wanted to say that the maturity I'm grateful for that both of us had, it never came where you tried to sway women one way or I another way. And I want to bring that up because it's important, whether not just because of the retreat, but important in healing relationships among women in community. When you're trying to make one person, we didn't try to pull anybody to one side, and try to, you gotta say negative things about you or vice versa. And so I've not had one person come back and said she said or whatever. And so my point is that when you start talking about healing black relationships or women relationship between women anyway, but since we're talking about black relationships, that's one of the things. You cannot start having women try to pick sides. That's not fair to them. That's not fair. Allowing them to be where they are. And so that was one of the things that happened between us, and that was one of the ways that we stayed good. And like I said, there was no stuff all over the internet and all this kind of stuff. And it is true. Sometimes some of the courses, but like I said, we all can learn. So when you're in a relationship with your sister, friend, or whatever, ask yourself, what is it? Am I supposed to learn? What's my part in this? And then if both parties do that, it makes it a lot easier, even if you both come to the conclusion that it's it's over. Rachel, you want some?
I'm sorry.
I thought my issue was getting ready to say something, but then I said if she. So okay, so Rachel, you could go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say that you both brought up that you feel like y'all both bring value to each other and there is so much love between you two. Um, and it brings in the question of, because we're talking about the collective of Black women, of, and you both have self-love. How do you think, was there a point within the retreat where you can look back and say, something is about, well, now looking back, at the time you couldn't, looking back that you knew, okay, something is about to happen here that should not be. You know how sometimes you just get the feeling, because we're all also on here, I don't know what people identify as spiritual, mystical, what you identify, but was there a time that maybe you now can say, oh, that person may need more self love, or there needs to be boundaries for certain parts of the retreat that may have assisted with it not having the breakdown of what happened? Because sometimes people need guidelines and redirection, that we don't see when we're in it. And then, as Maisha, I think she brought up about, it was so much chaos. Sometimes we are brought into chaos, and before we know it, we're like, wait, what is this? This is very unfamiliar, but here I am now. How do I back out of this?
So yeah, I'll say, and I'll say without, because again, no need to give all the details, but I will say, yes, looking back, there were there were moments, definitely moments, and then that I was like, whoa, this is a little off for me personally, it's a little off for me. But it's like once you start getting caught up in something, and then it's like the merry-go-round was already starting to go around a little bit too fast for me to pop off. But I could tell when it was starting to speed up, I just didn't have anything to grab on to. I wasn't grounded enough at that particular retreat. And again, could have been the things that were going on personally for me in my life at the time. I just wasn't grounded enough to have to hold my own energy and my own space, which I know to do because I've done retreats too. So later on, there was a point where I was completely disappointed in my own behavior because I was like, what the fuck? Like you know better than this. But it was like coming out of a haze, like, what the who was what was that about? So yeah, there were definitely moments when I looked back and I said, this is starting to go off the rails here, but the train had already left the station and I wasn't trying to bring it on track. Trust, I don't know
So,
about.
so what do you think that in day to day people? I know that I've gotten in a situation where someone else, we were at this invited event, and I just had a feeling. I didn't know what it was, but I went straight to, I said, so and so about to do something. I don't know what it is, but they own something. And I kept saying, I told everybody, I said they own something because my sons were also there. And as Trust has brought up, when your children are involved, I part of the reason I can publicly say this, if you do something to their mother, you just basically should just go and get your tombstone. And so that's why I don't really deal with people, because they're not playing about their mama. These are young men, not daughters. And so it almost happened. And the other people were like, I didn't know they were like that. I said, yeah, that's why I don't deal with people. I knew something was going to happen. The person was very apologetic because she said, you said they was going to do something. But you didn't know. I had to learn to say that, though. That's why I would like for you to say, well, what do you think that people in day to day should do when you're feeling that, like you did? You said you saw like some bullshit about to happen. What do you think that normally people should do?
So I think the first part is really, and a lot of people lack emotional awareness and emotional intelligence to even really tell that some shit is about to pop off. I think it, and I think that's why those of us in the mystical community, we are so big on grounding ourselves and being stable in our own energy. And that's why we do our best to teach that to others, because when you are grounded in your energy, when stuff around you starts to swirl, you either know this is my cue to exit, or you're able to stand strong while the storm is swirling around you, but you don't get caught up in it. And I think that's especially for women, because we are very emotional and we do react sometimes before we start thinking. I think it's very important for us to learn how to pause for a moment and really take in what's happening and then formulate a response. That's how you get that feminine and masculine energy working together. But I will yield the mic on that. Tress, I'll hand it to you.
So, thank you for sharing. There was a couple things that came to mind. One is, I guess one of the greatest lessons I learned is um, to stand in my power. There were several times I should have shut some shit down. Period. From the beginning. Um, and even if it costs, meaning somebody would have to leave or whatever. I should have just shut it down. That was one of the things. Also, being having awareness, like my issue we're talking about, where you aware that someone's holding someone else, setting boundaries. That's the way I'm going to say it without saying too much. Setting boundaries, so if this person is doing this, that's the only person that's going to be doing this. I think that, and also I will say this only from the standpoint, like I said, not giving too much details, but ladies, whether it's your friend, your mother, your sister, your whatever, when someone is holding space for you at a retreat, in my case, when my daughters came, one of the things I had to remember, I think sometimes ladies forget, I wasn't always the best mom. I love my daughters, but I had my own trauma, so they got some of it. So they're there to heal just like the rest of the women are there to heal. And yet, when they, let's say, for example, they were not my daughters and they said something that may have been hurtful towards their mom or whatever, we all trying to help them work through it. I feel like when it came to my daughters, everybody kind of looked like they was attacking me, where I invited them. So for me, it was giving them space to heal. There is no reason to bring them there, and they can't be who they're gonna be. But for other women, I feel like they felt like it was a little bit too much. And so I didn't totally know how to hold space for that. But what I do understand, even if it was not my daughter, it was my friends or whatever, and I know about you, and you got to feel what you got to feel. So I feel like in order to have, when you get to the depths of sisterhood, you allow your sister to be who she is and feel what she feels, and you may help her work through it. You cannot side-eye her. Um, I just happen to be the person that was facilitating it, but they know. Just like if I was, my issue was my mother and she was hosting it, and I'm like, and I'm trying to process some of my own stuff. So I think that we have to stand in places where whatever we're doing as women, wherever we are holding space, we have to be willing to be less judgmental, because we want it to be a safe space for everybody. Now, on the flip side of that, some of the women who had participated the last, because a lot of them had been back every year, they kind of knew. So, and others where they didn't quite know. But I think whether it's your children, and let's just put it not in a retreat form, but just children in general, as women and mothers, there's things that we're going to learn from our daughters, whether we want to hear it or not, because we're not perfect. They're not perfect. And although both of us may need to learn how to work through it, the situations, we have to let sometimes just move pride aside. So you're talking about sisterhood in general. You have to move pride aside and allow it to be what it's going to be if you want to work it. So for my Isha and myself, at least I can say, it wasn't hard to go and talk to her. And it wasn't necessarily the hurt that I felt coming from her, but the fact that I felt like I hurt her. So it was the combination of all of it that really, um, and to the depth that I felt like it, I felt like I did not want to. I guess what I'm trying to say is I felt like I found out how much she matters. Sometimes we think we don't always know, or we do know. And when this happened, I was really aware not only of how I felt hurt, but how I may have hurt her. Um, but she mattered enough. She didn't come, like I said, I got drugged like shit through the internet, but she didn't, there was none of that from her. And so once I was able to just kind of be honest with myself, and she was able to be honest with herself, we were able to talk about it. And so it can be that way. Our relationships with, whether it's our coworkers, peers, or whomever, our parents, it doesn't always have to be something that cannot be worked through. But sometimes time may be what it takes while you both dealing with what you need to deal with.
Can I piggyback on something?
Yeah.
But Tressa, can you mute first?
Yes, child. Yes.
Love you. Um, you know what? Like I said, I was kind of in my bubble and unaware. But when afterwards and stuff start to hit, I'm like, what in the whole hell? So I'm like, Tressa, I saw XYZ. And I wasn't like, oh, that horrible person and how why did they do da da da. I was just like, don't know what's going on, but handle business over there, sis. This is your brand. And then I think also Tressa gave me enough space as a sister, as a friend, to really share how I felt about the aftermath, and to let her know that I didn't feel like, okay, I have to choose sides. Now, there was some behavior that happened afterwards that I was like, oh, hell no. Nope, no, no. But other than that, I mean, I even talked to, I think I called you by a mistake, Debbie, and then we end up talking. You called, I hung up, and then you called me right back, and we talked because I was hurt, even though I didn't know. Even the energy of it, it was the energy of it. Like, I did not know everything that had happened or what somebody said happened. I just knew that it was some online stuff happened afterwards, and it hurt. um but I mean, you listen to me, others listen to me. So, and I was honest with Tressa about who I talked to and how I was feeling, and she let me have that, even though she was still in the midst of the thing, the blob. That's, I don't even know what else to call it. She was in the midst of the blob, but she held space for me as a sister, just to hear me. And like she said, she didn't push me to say, oh, well, you need to check, you need to choose sides. I'm not cool. Like, she didn't do that. It wasn't that kind of energy. And it was definitely a moment for us all to pause and kind of step back and kind of like, okay, let's how do we move forward and how do we don't. But I just appreciate that so much. I appreciate Maisha, like, listening to me. I think I was at work, I was bawling. So yeah, and I think that we have to remember, when we are in our friend groups or whatever, although you may not be directly a part of whatever may have happened, you will be impacted. You just will. And there's usually something for you to learn personally as well. So that's it. I'm complete.
Um, it's so much that I would like to say, but I do want to just recognize y'all, and it's so great to see leaders within the communities that you all lead and that you all work together with for the retreat. One of the things is, what do you think, as Tressa said earlier about quality over quantity, and people are always saying, I want to quote unquote find my tribe or create. And some people want to see you all doing this, and they want to create circles for themselves of sisters. How do you think that they talk and be more? And I mean, when they're going to have like more of a retreat, of course, you can't weed out people who are just seeing things on public platforms. But do you think that in small, intimate spaces like this, there should be kind of a conversation beforehand if you're not familiar with the person and you will be out of town in a home or in a location where people are in a shared space? How do you all think that that should go? Because even outside of this, maybe it's just a friend circle, everybody's just going to a retreat. How do you all think, as people develop their tribe or their sister circle, how do you think they should move forward? Or is there a way to move forward, or is it just happens?
Maichi, you want to go? Okay, so I'll just go real quick. I definitely believe in vetting people, but as much as you do it, sometimes for me, it wasn't a lot of the people that I didn't know. Some of the people that I didn't know didn't act out. It was some of the ones that I knew. Um, but again, sometimes we give away our power, and I would say the ones that probably acted out is the most is the ones that I used to walk around and give my power to, and didn't speak up. And so that person kind of came in, or those folks, well, I'll say that one particular person came in with a certain energy that we never had before. We never needed it before. So I would say that yes, vetting is good, but sometimes it's not always the ones outside your circle. Sometimes it's the ones close by. And sometimes the more you start to grow and develop and make moves, um, you may not always know it too much later, but there was always some shit in the game from before it even started. So I would say that yes, it's a good thing to talk and vet people. I don't know how you can totally do it. I know one of my mentors that has done in terms of the centrally empowered kind of stuff, and she has her own academic platform and all this stuff. I saw her one time writing that she had people there and they were doing certain things that she found out later about. And so sometimes, I mean, you do the best you can. I mean, if you've done the best you can, you don't always know. Maisha?
I mean, yeah, I'd probably say all of the same things that you said. There was recently someone else recently had a retreat in a space, and she's very good, I think, at vetting. And yet, and still, something happened at her retreat that she was like, "No, this is a no. This crossed boundaries. This crossed lines," and she had to deal with that. So I think we always do the best we can. When Black Tantra group, when we were doing retreats, we had Zooms beforehand and met with people. But still, when people get into certain spaces, because they're there for healing, and sometimes the part that needs healing the most is the part that will come out at the retreat, and you're kind of like, heal, but not that part, please. Okay, that needs intensive work. But that's what'll happen at a retreat, because people's guards are down, they're in a different environment. It's like, kind of this what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas mentality. So I am not altogether sure, having done retreats, having been part of retreats, having seen other people do retreats, that there's a foolproof way to prevent certain energy from being there. However, I think one thing that I learned in watching this particular one and my own experiences was, as the facilitator, to have a team with you who can assist you with that, because it's a lot of work to be a facilitator. It's a lot of energetic work. You're clocking so many things. It's easy for a facilitator to be tired, run down, aggravated, hungry, trying to manage a schedule. And a team helps with that. So now the facilitator doesn't have to do all of those things. And that way, if some shit is popping off, it's like, ooh, let me cut that right here. But if you're running a retreat, and I'm not, it's not specific to Tressa. I've done it. I've acted a brat at one time, Black Tantra group retreat, where the other facilitators are looking at me like, what is wrong with you? We were tired. We were doing the cooking. We were doing this. We were doing that. And it was just a lot. So I think the vetting, for sure, for anyone running a retreat, the vetting of the people who are coming, the vetting of your facilitators, and making sure that you have a team with you. And the same goes for life too, right? With your friends, your lovers, whoever. Vet these people, bring them around people you trust, vet them that way too. I think it's the same philosophy no matter what you're doing. I love what
Yeah.
LaDonna, sorry, I'm sure Tasha will put it up.
Did someone have something? I didn't see.
Oh
Okay.
no, it was just a comment. LaDonna said,
Oh,
"Sounds like retreat planners need chaos officers." I agree.
yes,
Because there's
baby.
always chaos at any retreat. I don't care
It,
how well oiled it is.
yeah, it reminds me, I've coordinated weddings, so it reminds me of this. It's this dance. You're doing this dance, and even though you have this person over here doing their role, this role, we had a part of our, we had several coordinators, and somehow we were way over budget. I'm like, you were in charge of the money. We should have, you needed somebody to monitor you on the money, and we wouldn't be in this position. So it's you never can, like, it most times it may not be absolutely perfect because we are human, and we just get all willy-nilly sometimes. But I think it is, like you said, having the right people in the right positions, and then also for those that are coming to be a part of the retreat. Now, it was my third retreat, so I knew what the deal was. I knew how it should flow. Others were very new, or it was their second time, and then you have this new group of people there, so some dynamics were different. And it was, and I think with that, it sometimes is, it's just communication. And even if it's the same communication, the retreat, this allowed, this allowed, this is not allowed, this is definitely not allowed, do you still want to pay your money? Because I think that all of that is important, so that people, when they come, they understand that this is a spiritual process. Yeah, we're gonna party and we're gonna be silly and we're gonna have fun, but this is spiritual. And I think um that may not have been clear to everyone, and that changes the dynamic a whole lot. A whole lot. So yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. But I totally like that. I don't know if we should call it chaos coordinator, but I love that, because you really do, you have to have that, the people in the right places, and be bold enough, like Tressa said, be bold enough to be like, no. And if people walk away, they walk away.
And so what you said was two things that you said between you and my issue. One was oh my God, there was just two things that stood out. And I'm gonna base them on community. One is um knowing, so when you are establishing yourself with sisterhood and community, understand what it's about so you know if you can align yourself with it. Because sometimes we think having more friends is the best thing, and sometimes it's not more friends, it's the quality of friends that you have. Or sometimes and that's in friendships, but let's say you got community groups and you want to be a part of one, understanding, can you align yourself with it, and also understanding that within that community dynamic you want to be a part of, that not all people agree, some of them have different thoughts, and um how you can be a part of it without allowing yourself to get caught up in the bull. How you can and be have a healthy relationship. I feel like my nose want to bleed. It's trying to been doing that lately, but that's why I keep doing this. Um, yeah. To so even in the community, if you want to be a part of women in these tribes, um, find out, do you align what they really want? And sometimes less is more. Having quality friends that you can trust, you can talk to. You all don't always have to agree, but you willing to speak up to each other and say, oh no, that's not right. You have, sometimes it's going to be a dynamic where you may not particularly care for one person, but your friend do, but don't mean y'all can't be grown folks and and handle business the way that it needs to be handled. I will definitely say though, as a leader in, like I said, the first two was just so different. But again, I learned that lesson the hard way. And I think it was Nishiki that talked to me too later about it and said, sometimes you just have to pray for the quality of people that you want and stop trying to have a whole bunch of people. And so and let that just flow the way it's meant to flow. Um, but yeah, as a leader, I can definitely say this grew me up in a way that I had to start saying, if you're gonna do this kind of work, you gonna have to be 10 toes down, stand in your truth, and as a leader, and you gotta protect these women. So in sisterhood, sisterhood is sometimes about protecting us, not letting everybody else badmouth your sister and don't, and then you don't say anything and you don't let them know, hey, you might want to look at this because maybe they don't think about you the way you think about them. That's another thing about having quality relationships with women. And as we grow and become more mature, a lot of these things, we, even if we didn't know them, as we start to grow and learn and somebody brings it to our attention, we are more willing to look at it and see if it works for us or not, and then kind of make the moves that we need to move versus just shutting everything down and always thinking that we're correct, because there was a lot of areas that I could see that I could have done differently, in some areas better. But a lot of it, I think, has to do again with me speaking up and being bold enough to stand up in my truth and say, this is what I require. And also, Bianca's made a point that sometimes clarity, we have to really make sure things are clear. It doesn't matter whether it's a retreat, but in general, what we want to convey, and then maybe ask, hey, tell me what you hear me saying, because I want to know if you really understood what I said, so we can be clear on the boundaries that's going to happen.
Trusty, you said something earlier, and I just wanted to, I wanted to say thank you, but really, I thought it was the other way because you said that you thought that you had hurt me, and I think one of the reasons why you and I were able to come together was because I really felt like I had hurt and betrayed you, and we have similar backgrounds, you and I, which is why we get along so well. And one of the things that I saw in myself that I learned was that people pleasing tendency. I still had that too, where I wasn't always able to back down, where I wasn't always able to put up the boundary either. And that one, I walked away from that really seeing, I had already seen it in another space. That 2023 was the year that I saw that in several spaces with several people. I'd had a teacher that I was having that same issue with, that I hadn't put up boundaries with, and I was kind of doing the fawn response with her, and then I found myself at the retreat kind of leading in doing the same kind of behavior, which is one of the things that disappointed me the most about myself. But I walked away from it really having a real clear view of what it looks like when I decide to shrink because someone else seems more powerful. And you and I we have that in common. And so that's why afterwards I felt horrible because I don't know about anybody else. It doesn't matter about anybody else. I felt like I had betrayed our friendship, our sisterhood, knowing where we come from, knowing some of the experiences that we had. And that's why it was so important to me to make amends with you then at that time. I mean, you felt like you hurt me, and I felt like I had betrayed you. Yeah, and I think because we felt that way, that was the depth of our love for each other that we were able to have the conversation we had and move past it. So just want to say that to you.
And can I say, as a participant or just being in a sister group, sometimes when things don't go, uh, things kind of fall apart or whatever happens, is I think it is so very, very critical not to point fingers, but also not to point fingers right away. But if you know in your gut, you like, oh no, that I see exactly what you just did, and hold firm to that, whatever that holding firm means to you. And then I feel like with me, because my tendency is to be a loner, and or has been let me say that, has been to be a loner and not be engaged with other women, is that for me it was about, okay, we're not going to pull out the pistols and shoot everybody. We're going to wait and see how all of this unfolds. But I knew this behavior over here from that particular I said, yeah, I just can't with that one. That I cannot. And that was a hard boundary for me. So I let that go. And it was just it. And you know, no love lost. It's just like I'm not gonna put up with that. But with the, some of the other women, I was just like, okay, let's, like I said, see what happens. And I just feel like when we slow down and we are not quick to like cut each other's throat and be like, or read people for filth, that we do better. We do better. Even if the relationship continues or not, it is better just to take that time and sit with whatever you personally just need to sit with, and then move from there. Hey, Risha. I'm sorry. I haven't seen Risha online in a long time. But yeah, so I think it's just something for me to kind of capture and to learn through and to carry with myself, even within friendships. It's like, all right, this one friend likes to do all of this or wants this, and I don't have to do everything she likes, and I can still hold my boundaries and we can still be friends. So it was an amazing it was an amazing process for it was an amazing opportunity for us to learn, although it got ugly. It got ugly. It was like, ugh. So, but it's good.
Wait, real quick, I just got to say,
And
because
I
you
want to
talk
bring
you
this.
talk about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Rachel.
No, no, go ahead. You could go ahead first.
All right, I was gonna say real quick. Trust, are you muted? Okay, I was gonna say because Bianca talked about getting shot. Look, I didn't say anything about any of this or whatever on my because I don't do drama, so I was just quiet. Like there's nothing. I had some people messaging me like, "What's happening?" I'm like, but the one mentor that Tressa had, Lord, did she come for me because somebody said that I said something or said it and took it the wrong way or whatever, and she came for me. And it was like Tressa's like, they hurt me. And you like metaphorically, like she took out the shotgun and was just like, like the Godfather. But even with her, I messaged her and we talked behind the scenes. I didn't think I didn't think I needed to talk about, like put it on my page, right? But I messaged her and I was like, hey, what is happening here? Like, come talk to me, tell me what you thought you heard I said. And so we actually had a good conversation, she and I, behind the scenes, because that's how I do things. And we made amends. But yeah, she loved Tressa, so she came to protect her. And I'm thrilled that Tressa has people who love her like that. But I was just like, it wasn't me. But trust me, you got people who love you, girl. But yeah, even as bad as that was, I still value that woman enough that I wanted to talk to her and say, hey, I don't know what you heard, but let me tell you exactly what came out of my mouth. But again, because I value who she is and I valued the relationship that we have. And I think that says something. When you value the relationship that you have with someone, you want to find a way. If you can't find a way, that's fine. But if you value it, you want to find a way. And that's for everything beyond this situation.
And although we're kind of using this situation to talk about women in general, yeah, this is getting kind of talked out. But there are some things that I noticed that we have. Um, if you really love your sister, and I mean really love your sister, you don't let her walk around with a slip out. And so you don't let one is totally off the rocks to go along with everything that person said. My daughters was like, one of them was like, some of them, they just started blocking, and one of them happened to see something, and then it's like, Mom, and like, and yes, I'm their mother, and yes, they was a little frustrated and all this stuff. Um, and one of them asked me, why do I even keep putting myself through it and do this work? And I said, because I'm called to it. And I'm not gonna change. That doesn't change. But I think Also, when we also sometimes have friendships that probably should have ended a long time ago, or we put these people above us and we act like we're not as smart, as good, as powerful. And so then we let them come in and shit just went sideways. And that could be a person that you had a relationship with that was a mentor, literally. Like I had more than one mentor at my thing, and one of them really showed out. And like I said, man, I was like you was receiving all this stuff. I was receiving all this stuff. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And but that's not what sisterhood is. And the thing that, because I have a really good friend, she was like, damn, we've been knowing each other long. We've been knowing this person. They talk about sisterhood until they're mad. And then when they're mad, they betrayed so much stuff that we had talked about. That and it's women, and I want to bring this up for this reason, that when you have sisters and they're sharing things with you, you don't get mad at them and y'all get mad at each other and you go tell everything that they said. This destroys communities. You can't be trusted. They don't think the person can be trusted because what's said is just like, so these are things that as Black women, um if we really are serious about building relationships and communities, you don't do that. Like I said, my youngest daughter, we're just starting to work through some of our stuff because things that I shared was shared with her, and or things that she said was shared with me. And then when the shit really hit the fan on the internet, some of everything went out. And this was like, wait a minute, you can't, we're here to support each other. And even if you end up saying, hey, I'm done with that sister, telling that sister's business is a whole level of what's the right word, Aisha? Bullshit or something. I don't know what the right word is. But you don't do that. Because
Sabotage.
then people, yeah, but then people don't trust you anymore. Really. One of my other mentors, when I was talking to her, she said, that doesn't reflect you. That reflects that leader. Because now people don't trust. And I think sometimes we sit up under a particular leadership way too long because we don't trust ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. We think this person knows more than we know. We think they know more about us or what's best for us. And so I feel like when you're talking about sisterhood, you got to really have such a love for yourself that even if it's not about you falling out with anybody, but it's about you saying, hey, this is what I need for me. And it's okay if you need this for you. We don't have to be enemies. You get this, I get this, and where we can meet in the middle, we meet in the middle. Um, but I think these are some things to be aware that we do to tear each other down when we don't get each other our way. And at the same time, it really speaks about us, where we are, our own insecurities, our own trying to force everybody to be like we think they should, when in reality, everybody should have the autonomy to be who they be.
Right. I think in the rage that sometimes we have, be it with, we say it's another person, but we're all mirrors of one another on some level. But I think what we have to always have is integrity. If we have integrity, even if we're pissed off, we're angry, there's just certain things we're not going to do because we have integrity. But I think when we have a lack of integrity plus rage, we just out here like the Tasmanian devil. So it just, you got to have that integrity and keep that in mind, although you're mad, you're upset, you're enraged, and pause. So but yeah, that's it.
And one thing, but I don't want y'all to think everything was bad. We had some amazing times. Now we did. We took Boo War photo shoot.
Tressa, you're muted.
Yourself, babes.
Y'all, I'm so sorry. I said I don't want everybody to think everything was negative there because it wasn't. We had a Boo War photo shoot. We had a shaman that had been there two of the three times. This year, literally as they was manning the fire and we were doing well, all that we were doing, all had flown over, sat there and watched the whole ceremony. um the last day was so powerful when all the women went out and did their, what they did up there on the hill. It was, I still feel like that helped transform my relationship, even with you, and a lot of things, Maisha, because what I asked for there to grow up. And so I was able to, and so to do that. Let me see. We had classes. Maisha taught a beautiful class. Um, we had all kind of things going on. So it's not to say that everything was bad. And each year it gets bigger and it gets more powerful. This year, because of all that had happened, we chose to do a retreat. I mean a summit, to really get back and get in a new mindset, and so that we could but yeah, so everything wasn't all bad, but because there was a lot of beautiful things that did happen. We're just using this, and I'm allowing this to be used as a way that we can see sisterhood, how we can release the rage, renew ourselves, and alchemize what's happened to deepen our relationship with ourself first, and then our sister. Ourself first, then our community. Ourself first, and then our family. And we take whoever we are wherever we are. So as we do our healing, then it we take that everywhere we go. I think I see Starly on here, and Starly was at the retreat. Is that Starly? She was at the retreat. Good evening, Starly. Hi, Risha.
Hello, hello everyone. I'm driving, so I think I have my phone mute and my
Okay.
camera off. Yeah, but I'm so glad to be here tonight. I'm so glad to hear this. And one of the things that I can say, as that was my second time attending Central Empower Women Retreat, in which I absolutely love. The first time was just so beautiful. Like I knew I had to be there the next year because I took away so much, and um, the healing that took place within myself and the things that came up, that I saw in myself, that the trauma, as far as holding trauma, sexual trauma, that came up from me, and the healing that took place with the first retreat. And I could tell you one thing, just a couple of days ago, I looked at Maisha. I just looked at her profile, I think on Facebook, and I was thinking of her just today. And it's just awesome that I'm here and I'm hearing her and seeing her. And as well as you, Tressa, holding space, as such as you all are tonight, and Bianca, and I don't recognize anybody else, but Bianca, hello. And but that was one of the Maisha was one of the people, the persons that was going to be there, that actually my soul was just lifted because I've watched her at some of the retreats. I think some of the retreats that she spoke at, and I will only see her online, and I would hear her, and I was just like, and oh my God, when I found out that she was gonna be at the retreat, for Tressa, I didn't know Tressa. I have never been around Tressa, but I met her at the expo, and that's the only place I had ever heard Maisha. But when I found out that Maisha was going to be there in the house at the Central Empower Retreat, I was like, oh my God! It was just like me being able to go to a Michael Jackson concert, and I love Michael Jackson as a little girl, but I would get so much from listening to Maisha and the way that she talked, and she was just so sensual with herself. And but that when I made it to the Arizona, when we flew in, I was able to share a Uber with her, and I'm sitting next to her. This is like almost like I was just starstruck, for real, for real. But um so to just be thinking about her and to be in this space and hear her tonight and see her is and for everything that happened the second time and to be here and to hear you all, because if I'm judging myself, I'm a baby in this, and y'all my bigger sisters, the older sisters, and it was just like, okay, we're having this talk, and I can see the mending of the hearts and the spirits and the soul, like I feel it, because this second time, been a second timer, and seeing everything that transpired or hearing the things that was going on, I didn't know how to make a judgment on it. I couldn't and I didn't. But I was sitting back, and I think it was a lot of things that was going on. I was just blind to it. I was just so blind to it. But I felt it in my spirit because I think I cried every day. I was crying so much. If somebody just got up there and was just speaking and teaching a class, I was sitting there weeping, and I didn't understand it. And I think I walked in the kitchen, and Erica said to me, she said, "You remind me of the weeping." I don't know if she said weeping willow or something to that nature, but I almost felt bad because I was crying so much. So I was thinking it was me. It was things that I was releasing within me, but it was just so much that was going on. In the space, but yet I took so much away from it as well. So sometimes, and I see it now in my everyday life, sometimes it may take a shake up for a wake up, just to for it to all come together and to get it right. Because we're human, we're spiritual, and we're growing and we learning and we evolving and elevating. But at the same time, we're not beyond, the chaos or things that happens in life. So I've learned so much um from being there. I really did. And I love each of you, and thank you. And I think I said it there, and I was expressing the trust of how much I appreciate her for having the retreat and bringing us together, and it's just so beautiful to be around women. And but yeah, so thank you all. I really appreciate you all so much um for just being who you are, and thank you so much for holding this space. And although I didn't understand, I didn't hear, and I didn't know, but still, this is beautiful, and it's healing, and it's bringing awareness to me. So thank you all.
Yeah, Starly, I'm with you. I think I was pretty oblivious, but what the one thing I did notice, and I know Maisha felt it, I could not sleep. Every night I got out of bed and went to the couch, one of those couches, and I would sleep for a little bit. I'll wake up and I'll sleep for a little bit. So, and that's really not typical of me. Usually when I go on, I'm outside of my home environment. I'm like out of the state. Man, I am crashing. I am like I'm sleeping so hard it's ridiculous. But that was not the case this time. So although I may not have been aware of situations or whatever, I felt the energy, and the way my body like reacted to it is that I couldn't sleep. So, and it's just interesting to hear you said how you said you cried where I couldn't sleep. But again, I'm still so very, very grateful for all of it, like for everything, because it happened as it needed to happen.
I just want to thank Starly for all that had me here. Try not to cry on the thing. Everything that you said, thank you. Um, it's also a reminder to me that as facilitators and as teachers, is that Tressa unmuted? Of course it is. As facilitators and teachers, like you said, we're still human. And it's a big responsibility for us when we put ourselves in the position to be leaders. There is a certain standard that we're going to need to be held to and to be accountable to, because we've put ourselves in the position of some kind of leader. But it does not exempt us from the fuckery of being human. And I've always said to people who have worked with me and will continue to say this, you know, please don't ever put me on a pedestal, because I will surely disappoint you. Because I disappoint myself. I will do some things. My inner child will come out. It's all there. Um, but we do still have to do. We've chosen to do, or been called or led to do the extra work in order to show what it looks like, even with this, right, to move past things. But really, just thank you for everything that you said. It's a remind it's stuff like that that's a reminder to me in the moments when it's like, why would I choose to do this? When I hear someone say things like that, like when Tressa hears someone say things, that keeps us going. So I appreciate it. We appreciate it, and thank you.
You're welcome. And one more thing, and I'm gonna say it really quickly. When Tressa talked about the hill and what went on the hill, thank you for holding space. I did. That was a first experience, but it was a really great experience. It was a healing experience. It was a I I can't even explain it in words, but what I was told is how you held space for me in that moment and at that time. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So we have about 11 minutes left, and
And we ain't let
I
Rachel
want to
do no
say thank you.
moderating.
Y'all
I
didn't even
know, but
need
she
me.
did. But we go. She kept it, yeah. But she's here to keep us on track. I really appreciate her for even saying yes. Um, I just want to say thank you, Starly, because sometimes as we well I could say me, sometimes I have not always trusted myself. Like when I knew I was bringing my Isha, I knew I could trust to bring my Isha. um and those other times when the women kept coming back saying they was getting this and that, but then the last time, for a minute it kind of stomped me. Like I had to like catch myself and still believe in myself that this is what you're supposed to be doing. You can trust yourself, but the point is you have to do it, because when you don't, these type of things happen. um and I also want to apologize to any of the women that were there, that were present and actually experienced this. That I just want to offer an apology, because this was supposed to be in a safe space and it wasn't held the way it should have been held. And I own that. So and I also want to say thank you to Starly, because she, for the summit that's coming up, she donated quite a bit of money as a donation. And so it helped with some of the gift bags to get things that we already knew what we were going to get, but it helped to add to the gift bags that we got in. And that's the best way I could say it. We really did get some really, really nice gifts for the gift bags. So I want to say thank you, Starly, for that. And that's kind of where I want to um leave, other than saying, hey, what's coming up. I just wanted to leave that apology there, and also tell you, Maisha, I really appreciate you. I love you, and I am grateful for this opportunity to use this time for us, not just for ourselves, but really the bigger pictures that other women understand. Healing it can really happen. It can really take place. Rachel, I love you, girl. Thank you so much for saying yes. And to the VAs, Tasha and Lanita, both of you, I really appreciate y'all showing up on the live for me, always showing up for me, always showing up for me. And so, yeah, so Maisha, you want to tell them where you're from and all that, and then I'll end up with what's going on or what you're
Sure.
doing.
I mean, you all can find me online under Devi Maisha or Maisha. Most of y'all are already following me on Facebook or whatever. My YouTube channel is Sensual Energy Alchemy, and yeah, I'm still doing the things that I do. I have a private community as well, Black Lotus Tantra community. But all of that information is online for you to grab. So thank you.
Okay, so let me say this. A lot of times she'll post it when we leave because so we're on YouTube for Centrally Empowered Woman. Um Tasha, wait a minute. And then of course we this is recording and then we're also having the summit. The summit is this Friday. The tickets were originally 250, now they're 200 because the gift bags go out on Monday. It's called The Year of the Orgasm. And so we have some very powerful women speaking. We're going to talk about mental orgasms, emotional orgasms, spiritual orgasm, financial orgasms. So we'll have a Dr. Latanya that'll be there. Nishiki will be there. Nishiki Chandler, M. Rain, Rhonda Bird, Amina Peterson, and who did I leave out? Because I left out, oh, Asha Sims. So all of these women will be showing up to talk about the power of orgasm. And one of the things that I want you all to understand when we talk about this, we're not just talking about physical or sexual orgasms. That is important too, but we're also talking about living an orgasmic lifestyle, like living in your pleasure. You know, when I first started this journey with Centrally Empowered Woman, honestly, I thought I was gonna be doing something totally different. And really, I was guided kind of like to teach women about pleasure because that was not something that I grew up with, understanding myself, giving myself permission to live a joyous, pleasurous life, giving myself to be autonomous and living my authenticity and all those things. And so the year of the orgasm is going to, yeah, that's where we're going to start. We're going to give you an opportunity to understand how you can use pleasure in every part of your life to really elevate yourself in a way that you're living a life that just always want to dream of, and now you can do it. All right, Rachel, you have anything you wanna say?
No, y'all have said it all. Did Tasha, is there any comments that need to be addressed?
Looks like she's posting everything in the groups.
No, everything that
Um,
has been asked, I already put up on the screen.
Yes, so I hope you all ladies will come on and come out. On also, there's going to be a retreat, and for those of you who show up this year to the summit, you will get that price off of your at least that part of the price off for your next ticket for the retreat that's coming up in 2026. So it'll be like you haven't paid anything. But hope to see you there, and thanks for everybody for showing up. Absolutely love, love, love y'all. Hope to see you at the retreat in 2026, Maisha.
If you want me
And
there, I'll be there. It is not a question. The answer is still yes.
all right, then I'll see you. So 2026, I'll see you there.
All right.
All right. All right. Much love to everybody. And thank y'all for just loving on me in all these spaces. Y'all having a beautiful day and or night, and talk to you later.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
night.